Hello colleagues, my name is Lombard and this is my book, Pursuing Information Literacy, Roles and Relationships. This is based upon a presentation that I delivered in London a few years back, and at first I was going to concentrate on information literacy, librarianship, integration into the classroom, those sorts of things which are pretty typical. However, in the course of interviewing people and giving it more thought, I expanded the horizons of the book a little bit, well, a lot actually. Rather than just exclusively higher education librarianship, this book now addresses business sector, healthcare, law, defense, intelligence defense, media, government, and education as well, but not just higher education, elementary, secondary, and higher ed. That stated, it has a consistency in that it applies information literacy in terms of roles and relationships. And what do I mean by that? There's literally thousands of roles and relationships when it comes to information literacy, potential relationships, actual relationships. However, there's two fundamentals throughout any kind of information literacy process. And that's another point, incidentally, that I make in this book, that information literacy should be approached and considered as a process, a non-linear one as opposed to a final product. But I digress. Back to the roles and relationships. You have basically seekers of information and you have providers of information. And sometimes those providers will be individuals, people. Sometimes they will not be individuals. Sometimes they'll be inanimate objects. For example, the seeker who wishes to learn about the history of a particular county and goes to the graveyard and looks at tombstones. We've all heard those examples of primary types of information before. This considers those, and it considers them more from the seeker's standpoint, which I think is a good thing to do if you're an information literacy provider or a facilitator. And I do include a facilitator within the provider role. Maybe, and that's what I do mostly. As an information literacy provider, I facilitate the process for an individual. Sometimes I'll provide direct information, although it won't be information that I myself developed or authored, but I will facilitate the process for the individual based upon examination of what that person needs. And I examine that not only from my own perspective, but I keep it universal in how it should be facilitated and provided and sought on the part of any individual. And one other element to it that I think is useful, and it's particularly relevant to those who are dealing with such things as English as second language and multicultural librarianship, education, those sorts of things. I don't focus in on American and British information literacy. I interview people from all over the world in this. We have representation from the continent of Africa, from the Near East, including Saudi Arabia and Egypt, Far East, India, Japan, China, and of course the United States as well. But it's a multicultural perspective, and it's not to suggest that if you live in the Ivory Coast, you're going to have a different perception of information literacy every time than somebody who lives in France. However, there are obviously cultural differences, and those differences can be more fascinating and helpful in terms of looking at something from a different lens rather than trying to designate or classify. So that's in here as well too. I hope you take a look at it. I hope that you enjoy it. And my contact information is available within. So if you have any feedback for me or questions, feel free to give me an email. Thank you again for your time. And I hope we can all make this a more information literate society.